How you guys doing? Burnt out again? Can't be burnt out. You were resting today. Or were you? All right, so tonight's lesson is the Song of the Three Holy Children. Anybody aware or have you guys ever read that particular book? No, first time. All right. So this we find in the Apocrypha, which some of our Bibles have, some of our Bibles don't have, but it's going to be a couple of things that we're going to be covering. It's the events that led to this particular, because in reality it's a prayer. It's known as the prayer of Azariah. So when you look at that, there's a couple. When you look at the Apocrypha, there's several prayers throughout the book, as well as the Bible, right? As well as the Old and New Testament. So this incident took place in the days of Babylon, under Nebuchadnezzar. So I know last week the brother covered the sins of Jeroboam. I know brothers were here if they were present, if you guys scoped out the lesson. So you understand who Jeroboam is now, right? Brother talked about Jeroboam. That was the focus. That was the topic. Now we're going to go in understanding what happened with Jeroboam. We were led into captivity. So-called 10 tribes, well, not so-called, the 10 tribes were led into the Assyrian captivity, correct? So then we're going to go in and see what happened after that, because this that we're going to cover today was the captivity that Judah was led into, that Judah got themselves into. Just like the 10 tribes got themselves into the Assyrian captivity, Judah followed with the captivity, under the Babylonian kings. So we're going to start off at, let's start off with Daniel 3, and go ahead and read Daniel 3 and 1.
The book of Daniel, chapter 3 and verse 1. Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold, whose height was 60 cubits, and the breadth thereof 6 cubits. He set it up in the plain of Dura, in the province of Babylon. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king sent to gather together the princes, the governors, and the captains, the judges, and the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and the rulers of all the rulers of the provinces, to come to the dedication of the image which Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up.
All right, so Nebuchadnezzar has set up this idol, right? You look at Babylon, you look at like a lot of the stuff that nowadays you have that people follow, it originated in Babylon. It originated in Babylon, and it still continues on till this day. You got Christmas they're about to celebrate, right? That originated since back in the day. A lot of these things, you look at the archaeology, they got archaeology where this individual is actually setting up and decorating a tree. And back in the days of Babylon, when you look into archaeology, it proves and it shows you how all these customs that our people are, partake are customs of the heathen, customs that you don't find in the scriptures. So I start off here to understand, where we at in history. So Nebuchadnezzar setting this up, and then he calls everybody to come through and worship, right? Continue on.
Verse 3. Then the princes, the governors and captains, the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the provinces were gathered together unto the dedication of the image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up.
Exactly. So understanding our history, what do we understand from that? When, as you understand, the Most High always set himself to be, and he is the only power, right? We understand that he makes everything go down. So to prove that, Book of Daniel is beautiful. It covers a whole lot of stuff. So let's go back, rewind this mug for a minute, and go to Daniel 1 and 1. So understand what's taking place. Nebuchadnezzar setting up idols, and as you're going to see in the story, he's going to make our people, bow down to him, which is the same story. You go to you go to the history when we were under the Assyrian captivity, it was the same thing. If it wasn't an idol, it was a particular power. Right now, what are we celebrating today? Dedication, right? Brother went into it last night, 333. Who came up? Esau, right? Alexander the Great. When you look at Alexander the Great, what did he bring? What did he set up? Maybe not him, but, the people that followed him. Antiochus or Antiochus, the wicked root. What did he set up? What did he force our people to do? Exactly. To follow his religion, right? Just like in America. Talk about pledging allegiance to the flag, to the ways, to the doctrines, to the Constitution, whatever it is, to the ways, to the society, the trends, the diet, from television, everything that we partake of as a nation is not of the Most High. The Most High is the last individual we think about. First, we set ourselves up. It's the same thing that had happened after, right? Jeroboam came up all the way to the days of Hosea. Hosea the king, we got booted out. Rehoboam was set up all the way to, the last king, which we're going to read about. What happened after the days? For example, we're going to focus on Manasseh. Has anybody ever looked into Manasseh the king? All right, so we're going to go back and understand what took place, what events, what happened, what was Judah or the southern kingdom doing, partaking, that the Most High had to bring them into captivity. I mean, it's common sense, right? You think they were doing something positive? Were they keeping the laws of the Most High? Of course not. They were transgressing. So let's go back and get Daniel 1:1.
The book of Daniel, chapter 1, and verse 1. In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, into Jerusalem and besieged it.
Exactly. So it's giving you a time frame, right? The 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah. When you look him up, we're going to cover that. We're going to cover a couple of things that these individuals were doing. He was no good. You can find these individuals when you look at the lineage of Yahushua. You see all the kings, and you're going to see what happened. As a matter of fact, let's go there right quick. Go to Matthew 1. Because there's one thing we got to understand that so-called, the Christians out there, they don't understand half of this. They don't understand the history. They don't keep the laws. Some of us in here might be keeping dedication and don't really understand why. Why is it so important? Some of us are like, man, 8 days? Nah, I can't do that. We go through this week, no matter, we in captivity, right? Although we in captivity, the Most High said, look, this week is a week in which you got to celebrate. Glad. You got to be out there enjoying yourself. Because guess what? We're paying and we're remembering what our forefathers went through. The fact that, imagine what the Maccabees went through compared to what we're going through right now. We can't compare that. Imagine our kids were being killed. Our women were being bashed. You couldn't circumcise your children. The law was burnt. The temple was defiled. They're having orgies and sacrificing pig's flesh, pig's blood on the temple, on the holy temple of the Most High. Places where we couldn't even go into. If you weren't a priest, you couldn't enter the Holy of Holies. You couldn't enter the temple, period. Once a year, the Day of Atonement, they got to go up in there to plead for us. And these bastards just came in, bashed it, took our people down, and guess what? They seized the place. Maccabees, I think that's the 3rd time already in which they did it. In a sense, when you look at it, because of the captivity of Babylon, it was hit twice. So then you look at what happened, in the days of the Grecians. And then in 70 AD, that was it, right? After that, we haven't regained. You look at the Ark of Titus, them Romans out there bragging about what they did to our people. So it's always been the same thing. These 17 nations, they always had it against us. You look at, the individual that we were talking about yesterday, the Grecians, Antiochus, the wicked root, who had the same perpetual hate that Esau had from the jump, shows you who these individuals are, whose offspring they are, because they don't change. So understanding all that, we got to go back and really meditate. All right, what is this about? What does Christ have to do with this history? The song of the 3 holy children, what's that got to do with anything? Remember, everything in the Bible connects. So the more understanding we have in regards to our history, the better foundation that we could build for ourselves to be able to withstand in the day, of adversity. Because a lot of times we get hit with a couple of things. Man, and we always getting tested. On a daily, we get tested. So if we understand these things, we understand these scenarios, we understand how these individuals, reacted to certain things, then guess what? We have the ability to do the same thing. If we choose to act like individuals that were arrogant, prideful, we understand what the consequences is going to be. If we act like individuals that were holy and all about the Most High, meek, pride was not about, they weren't about pride, they were selfless. We understand what recompense they had. Look at Yahushua, he was selfless. He never complained. We complain a whole lot. About every little thing, we complain. Yahweh Shai, he was without sin, and we're sinful. Lamentation says, what basically, what right do we have as sinful individuals to complain about anything? Yahweh Shai didn't commit no sin. There was no guile found with him. Yet, he never complained about anything. And he was spit on. He was, man, you seen how he was dashed? Brother explained the tools, how the tools that they used to use, that they used to whoop him. It's crazy. Peeling the flesh and the bone off of him. Without doing committing no transgression. But yet, he understood these laws. He understood these statutes, which is what the the three holy children, the song of the three holy children covers. These individuals were like, you know what, no matter what it is, we're ready, because we have that faith. So go ahead and get, just to understand the history, Matthew 1, if you guys are not aware, this covers the genealogy of Jesus Christ, known as Jesus Christ, right? Mashiach Yahweh Shai. So understanding that he didn't come through immaculate conception. He actually came from the tribe, from the lineage of Judah. Go and if you could read 1 and read, start at 7. So it's a real quick breakdown of the history of the southern kingdom. Remember, these are the kings of Judah.
Matthew chapter 1 and verse 7. And Solomon begat Rehoboam, and Rehoboam begat Abiah, and Abiah begat Asa, and Asa begat Jehoshaphat, and Jehoshaphat begat Joram, and Joram begat Ozias, and Ozias begat Joatham, and Joatham begat Achaz, and Achaz begat Ezekias, and Ezekias begat Manasseh, and Manasseh begat Amon, and Amon begat Josias, and Josias begat Jeconias and his brethren. About the time they were carried away to Babylon.
To what?
Carried away to Babylon.
So right there, go ahead, read 12.
And after they were brought to Babylon, Jeconias begat Salathiel, and Salathiel begat Zerubbabel.
So bam, right there, about that time, that's when the last king was around, the last king of Judah. So we go into Babylon, that's it. Guess what? It's done. The northern kingdom is done, the southern kingdom is done, and then from there, it gets crazy, right? We just pretty much are on a downfall to the days of 70 AD, and then what we have in this present time. So understanding that, just bringing that up, so you can see how everything connects, everything goes back to its root. So if that's the case, shouldn't we be researching our history to be able to understand what it is that we need to be doing? To be able to understand, okay, you know what? It's not just about me. It's not at all about me. It's about what the Most High set from the jump. It was real easy. He made a blood covenant with our people, right? With our ancestors. He said, choose life by being obedient, or choose death by being disobedient. So understanding that, then guess what? We understand how life pretty much is easy if we stay on his good side. If we want trouble, if we don't want peace, guess what? All we got to do is continue to do what we've been doing for centuries now. So now let's just cover the history right quick. Go to 2 Kings 23, so we could understand how Israel was moving in these days. So get 2 Kings 23 and read verse 4 through 5.
The book of 2 Kings, chapter 23, and verse 4. And the king commanded Hilkiah, the high priest, and the priests of the second order, and the keepers of the door, to bring forth out of the temple of the Lord all the vessels that were made for Baal, and for the grove, and for all the host of heaven. And he burned them without Jerusalem in the fields of Kidron, and carried the ashes of them unto Bethel. And he put down the idolatrous priests, whom the kings of Judah had ordained to burn incense in the high places in the cities of Judah. Whom the kings of Judah had ordained to burn incense in the high places in the cities of Judah.
Imagine that. Let's hold that so we could understand who we're talking about. Go to 2 Kings 22 and 1. Just so you guys could understand, we're going to kind of go, backtrack in a sense. But go ahead, read Josiah 22 and 1.
2 Kings 22 and verse 1. Josiah was 8 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 31 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Jedidah, the daughter of Adiah of Baskath.
Go ahead.
And he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, and walked in all the way of David his father, and turn not aside to the right hand or to the left.
Remember last week's lesson when you were reading about the 10 tribes? It always says, and they did worse than Jeroboam, or they did as their father Jeroboam, right? This individual right here, this is how you could find who, what kings, what type of character they had. You go, you find them, right below that, second verse, usually is going to tell you whether they move with the Most High or against the Most High. This individual did like David. So this individual said, look, I'm setting myself straight, and I'm going to handle what I got to handle. I understand what it takes to be a righteous king. So here's Josiah. So we got to understand, all right, so if it wasn't Josiah is coming through and getting rid of these particular things. Imagine what they had. Read verse 4 again in chapter 23.
2 Kings 23:4. And the king commanded Hilkiah the high priest, and the priests of the second order, and the keepers of the door, to bring forth out of the temple of the Lord all the vessels that were made for Baal and for the grove.
All right, so that's it. So it says all the vessels that were made for Baal. We understand what Baal is, right? It's an idol. How you look at the calves and all that stuff that our people did in the wilderness. All these, if it's not the Most High power, guess what? It's an idol. It's, it's something that we're not supposed to bow down to. Because we ain't supposed to make no images. We ain't supposed to create anything. Anything, right? Some people might be like, what's up with those lions you guys got there? Lions just representing Judah. You ain't going to catch us right here. A lot of people say, hey, you guys keep you celebrate the moon. You bow down and you praise the moon, right? You praise the moon? Nope. That's what you're going to see in this little, one chapter of the Holy Children. When we understand these things, guess what? None of those things affect us or face us because we understand what we about. When we keep the new moon, it's a convocation and it's a commandment that the Most High gave us to keep. We are not praising the moon. We're praising the Most High, the Creator that created everything. These instruments that He set up for us to be able to understand the times, to understand, when to go to war, when to plant, when to, everything. When you look at the book of Josephus, you understand that our forefather Abram came into Egypt and gave them the understanding. You look all throughout the world, you see that, our people had understandings that people still trying to figure out. But what happened to it? We gave it up. So now going back, okay, so let's find out who set these things up. Like I said, I'm not going to go too far back on your own. You could read the history of the Southern Kingdom, and you could check out every single king and see how they operated, right? But let's go and cover Manasseh. So go back to 21, 2 Kings. We're going to come back right there in a minute, but go to 2 Kings 21 and let's start at verse 8. Actually, no, let's start before that. Start at verse 1. 2 Kings 21 and verse 1.
The book of 2 Kings 21:1. Manasseh was 12 years old when he began to reign, and reigned 55 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Hephzibah.
So this individual, our forefather Manasseh, he was 12, right? And he reigned for 55 years. It's quite a while, right? More, over a half a century. Let's see what he did. Go ahead.
And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, after the abominations of the heathen, whom the Lord cast out before the children of Israel.
Remember when we go back to Deuteronomy 7, Most High said, make no covenant, destroy them, utterly destroy them. One issue that Saul had. Saul didn't, destroy the Amalekites. The Amalekites continued. So Most High always knew how big of a stumbling block these nations were going to be for us. Just look at it now. Look at the way that they always trip us. We always fall into their traps. We up in here, as soon as, we get home, you want to relax, you turn the television on. What do we have on that mug? Distractions, right? You end up, start lusting after stuff, food, cars, whatever. It's just, they're always trying to sell you something, always getting you caught up. If not, it's a show. We spend mad amounts of time scoping out these shows, but never dedicate no time to understanding who we are, understanding our history, understanding why we're in the situation we're in. we out here looking at individuals, cribs, for example, right? I don't know if they still show that. We might be out here lusting for these type of houses and stuff like that. The Most High is like, look, I made this earth for you to dominate, for you to rule. All you got to do is what Joshua 1:8 states. Keep these laws, keep these statutes, meditate day in and day out. But instead, we out here searching for the best, the next job that we got, we got to go slave at. Because you know what, the one we have is not, it's not enough for the lifestyle that I want to enjoy, partake of. But when we look at the Bible's just right there, maybe in your backpack till Saturday comes around. So then again, the Most High is like, look, and in order for that not to happen, you got to make sure that you leave these heathens and separate from them, and make sure whoever you set up is a righteous individual. Obviously, this individual that ruled for 55 years is letting you know, and he did which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to the customs of the heathen. Look at what we have in this present time. Our so-called leaders, what do they lead us into? Evil. They cause us to err, right? So where are we at? At the bottom. We bring this truth to the people? Nah, that's not necessary. You know what? I'm still going to keep Christmas. We celebrating 8 days. You celebrate 1 day. But it's not the same, Yeah, it's not the same because you're going to die for doing that. Us, if we stay on point and we sincere about this, guess what? We got a chance of, to eternal life, to everything that the Most High created. Because remember, I think we read last time in Wisdom of Solomon, the Most High didn't create. It was last Wednesday when there was a question about suicide and stuff like that. Remember, we chose death. We were supposed to be immortal. But instead of that, we chose to go ahead and commit transgression, and that earned us to be friends with death. So now we also think, man, we only got one life to live, so guess what? I'm going to go all out. YOLO, I'm going to live it, I'm going to max out. Not understanding what these brothers understood. But go ahead, continue reading out.
Verse 2, and he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, after the abominations of the heathen, whom the Lord cast out before the children of Israel. For he built up again the high places which Hezekiah his father had destroyed.
So imagine that. Now, Hezekiah was a good king, right? For the most part. He came through and destroyed, right? He says, which Hezekiah his father had destroyed. So obviously, see the pattern? We could be here all night going all the way back, reading all of Kings and Chronicles. But you guys understand, Saul slipped, David was set up. David was, for the most part, he was good. He committed that one transgression. Most High dealt with him. Then Rehoboam comes in the picture, and so forth until, we here now. This is about like the 15th king, if I'm not mistaken. 15th, 16th king. So continue on.
And he reared up altars for Baal, and made a grove, as did Ahab, king of Israel, and worshipped all the host of heaven, and served them. And he built altars in the house of the Lord, of which the Lord said, in Jerusalem will I put my name.
That's what I explained at the beginning, right? Why we get up and face the east. He said in Jerusalem, the Most High put his name, right? And then guess what these individuals are doing? They're setting up idols, Baal. They're worshiping, they're setting up temples for these no gods. You think the Most High is going to be calm? Happy with that? Nope, right? Go ahead, continue.
And he built altars for all the host of heaven in the two courts of the house of the Lord. And he made his son pass through the fire, and observed times, and used enchantments, and dealt with familiar spirits and wizards. He wrought much wickedness in the sight of the Lord to provoke him to anger.
Exactly. So let's go to Leviticus 19 and 31 just to cover some of what the what the law states in regards to familiar spirits. On your own, you could really, go into, it's not like you need to, but for you to understand and know that it's a law, you got to go back and see where these laws are stated, what the judgment is for these laws, and see how our forefathers, when they were committing wickedness, they were shameless. They didn't even consider the Most High, just like this present day, right? So let's see what Leviticus 19 and 31 says about familiar spirits and enchantments and so forth.
Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 31. Regard not them that have familiar spirits, neither seek after wizards, to be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God.
Exactly. So we dealing with the pagans. We having relationships with the pagans, and we're setting up grows to Baal and so forth, right? And we're also dealing with familiar spirits. You don't think this brother has an understanding of what happened to Saul? What happened to Saul between Saul and Samuel? With the witches, because remember the witches, he got rid of them at first. And then he went in, what? Talked to the witches, right? To try to talk to Samuel. Samuel was like, man, brother, you still don't get it, huh? The Most High stopped dealing with you years ago. That's when he realized, like, oh man, really? And then guess what? He took himself out in a sense. Got put out, got put to death. But understanding, that's what I'm saying. We got to understand this history, because now when we out there, oh, you know what? I'm going to just get my palm read right quick. I'm in Vegas. It's all good. It's all for fun. Next thing you know, you're in a cursed condition. You out here, you know what? I'm going to just go get my, what do you call them, signs read? What do you call it? Huh? Zodiac. People get caught up. Ah, man, you know, when I go to that Chinese spot, I need to crack that cookie and see what it says, because it's always on point. Man, that cookie's always on point. People start believing these stupidities. You open up, well, let me check. Back in the day, it was a newspaper. Now you're on the phone. Let's see what my Zodiac got to say about me. You know, what should I be doing? Understanding what happened to our forefathers, this individual's a king, so he knows the history of Israel. But showing you that, you know what, it don't matter. I'm going to do whatever I need to do, because, it's whatever pleases me. So you guys can continue on and reading that on your own. Let's go to verse 8. Nah, my bad. Go back to 2 Kings 21 and 8.
Second Kings chapter 21 and verse 8. Neither will I make the feet of Israel move any more out of the land which I gave their fathers, only if they will observe to do according to all that I have commanded them, and according to all the law that my servant Moses commanded them.
So right there is letting you know, look, if they abide by these laws, by these statutes, they're not going to have to worry about anything. They're going to be set. They're going to be in their homeland, and nobody's going to run them up out of there. But obviously, what do? Go ahead, verse 9.
But they hearkened not, and Manasseh seduced them to do more evil than did the nations whom the Lord destroyed before the children of Israel.
Imagine that. Our own people seduced the nation to do more evil than the heathens. Again, when we go back, I don't know if you guys are reading Maccabees right now that we're keeping the celebration of the Feast of Dedication. You had Alcimus, right? He persuaded many people. So, and this is an Israelite. So knowing that that's the case, guess what? We gotta have our guards up 24/7. 1 Peter 5 and 8 tells us, right? Be vigilant, be sober, stay on point, make sure you always on that security tip. Make sure you always just scoping the scene, and discerning the spirits that you have around. Because it don't matter who it is. It could be your spouse, it could be your son, it could be your mother. Spirits jumping people. That's why it says build up a hedge. We had hedges, right? Some people put up fences for what? To keep things out as protection. Build up your hedges with this law right here, with the understanding. Because guess what? One day I might be cool, but another day, guess what? I might have a demon in me. So then you got to learn how to deal with that. Because then this individual came through. He probably, that's the king. It's all good. Let's do what the king says. Nah. Oh, you know what? That's the elder. Whatever the elder says, that goes. Most High says, no respect the person. He even said to Yahushua before he came up in the Old Testament, I believe it's in Isaiah, he says, look, if you slip, I'm going to whoop you like I whooped any other. You know what? The northern kingdom got sent out, but Most High is looking at it like, you know what? Judah's still on point. Judah's doing what they got to do, what they're supposed to be doing. But now he's like, look, I'm done. I'm upset. Because imagine, like I said, Manasseh. Who was Manasseh? Manasseh was the 15th king of the southern kingdom. 15 kings in, and he reigned 50-something years. So it had been a couple of 100 years since, Solomon, or since David. Well, Solomon was when the split occurred. So now, ever since then, the Most High, still had mercy on us, still pardon us, pardon our transgressions once we got right. But now we in the state where it's like, you know what? I'm done. The Most High has a limit. He gets fed up. And that's what he's saying by the prophets, because the prophets were warning our people. The prophets were always warning Israel about getting right. Look, get right or this is going to happen to you. Let's go to Jeremiah right quick. Jeremiah 25, and let's get one. So again, hopefully, you know, you guys are not lost. I'm just covering the history so we can get to the children, the holy song, right? The song of the three holy children, and understand, you know, how it connects with the book of Daniel, just in case if you didn't know that. But go ahead, get that.
Jeremiah chapter 25 and verse 1. The word that came to Jeremiah concerning all the people of Judah in the 4th year of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah. That was the 1st year of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. The which Jeremiah the prophet spake unto all the people of Judah and to all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, saying, From the 13th year of Josiah the son of Ammon, king of Judah, even unto this day, that is the 23 year, the word of the Lord hath come unto me, and I have spoken unto you, rising early and speaking, but ye have not hearkened. And the Lord hath sent unto you all his servants, the prophets, rising early and sending them, but ye have not hearkened, nor inclined your ear to hear.
So it's kind of like when we out there, right? We out there, the same corner's been out there for years. You hardly see anybody stop, pay attention, take heed to the word, take heed to the prophecies. Amos 9 and 10 says, anybody that's found transgressing the laws of the Most High of his own people, they're going to be put to death. All right, whatever. Turn up. Let me just continue with my life. It don't matter. You know what? I'm too young right now. Eventually, I'll get with the Most High when, you know, when I feel, you know, I've completed whatever I wanted to do with my life or whatnot. The scriptures tell you, tarry not. Get on it right now. You get a warning, make sure you move. 'Cause tomorrow's not promised. We think that we're going to be, you know, forever, eternal. When we committing transgression, the wages of sin are death. So how are we going to, you know, but again, our people are lost. And when we give them these warnings, they don't consider it. He said, man, I've been warning you, me, along with the other prophets, been telling you, look, this is going to happen. Take heed. Continue on.
Sorry, I lost.
Verse 4.
Verse 4. Again, the word of, that's 25 and 4?
Yeah.
Excuse me. And the Lord hath sent unto you all his servants, the prophets, rising early and sending them. But ye have not hearkened, nor inclined your ear to hear. They said, Turn ye again, now every one from his evil way, and from the evil of your doings, and dwell in the land that the Lord hath given unto you and to your fathers forever and ever.
Imagine, always, not having enough, right? Then we trip on Esau a whole lot nowadays. We got to do more you know, we got to check ourselves and see what we've done. Because remember, again, at the end of the day, when we go back to Daniel right now, the Most High is going to tell us through that book that he sets everybody up. All the individuals that have ruled over us ever since we slipped, it was due to our transgression. Guess what? And it's already been laid out what's going to happen. 1/3 is going to be saved. The book of Obadiah talks about Esau. Esau is going to be wiped away, wiped off, right? So then we understand all these things. Guess what? Our focus is, there's a scripture. It says, don't worry about, you know, the recompense of the wicked. It's in the Apocrypha. Can't recall it, but it's like, make sure you focus on what you got to be doing. Make sure you focus on how you going to get right. Because that's the thing. A lot of times we spend time just pointing fingers, but not checking what we doing. Examine yourself, the scripture says. Whether you be in the faith, that's what we got to check constantly. When we up in here, feast of dedication, man, I got to dress up again. I got to go do this. I got to get, man, if you already got that spirit, it's like, you know what? You ain't understanding. Most High willing, you get to understanding it, you know, one day. But at that present time, you're not understanding what this book and what our legacy is about, what the future has for us. So we need to understand, because then imagine, I talk to peeps, and it's like, if we all were as passionate as these individuals were, imagine where we would be. Talking about building a nation, but we talk about it. And Most High always gives you examples of how all of these things are possible. Down the street, Tulsa, Oklahoma, a couple years back, our people were doing these things. Mind you, they didn't have the full law with them. They, you know, They didn't have this as their foundation, but they did it. So now us with the book and with all the knowledge, brother went into Judith 5 last night, the 5th chapter, talking about the enemies knew that as long as we were with the Most High, abided by his laws, they didn't have no chance. They said, examine them and see if they're abiding by the law of the Most High, then don't even bother going in on them. Don't bother to attack. But if they're sinning, man, it's us, and it's for the taking. So then you understand how vital and how important it is for us to even, whatever we consume. Why was it necessary for them to label things with other names other than just pork, swine, or whatever? You got gelatin, you got glycerin, you got all these things, because guess what? Israel, we careless. We go through, it's not that big of a deal. As long as I set them up, it's all good. It's a big deal, because if it wasn't, guess what? That Judith, the 5th chapter, wouldn't exist. The enemies know, they know. If it wasn't such a big deal, then why do they do it? You really think you need, what is it, beaver butt and some of the juices? Who thinks about these things? Duck feathering in the bread? Well, you got to put glycerin and swine in the toothpaste. I'm not going to be brushing my teeth with swine juice in the toothpaste. Why? Because they understand that makes us, that defiles our temper. And if we're defiled, guess what? They move in. Everything that they put forth in the media, the music that we listen to, nothing different than what we're going to read right here. But that's why it's so vital that we understand our history to see, what, man, I got to step up. I got to really be about these scriptures, because at the end of the day, all these individuals that were about the law and were loyal to the Most High, they made it through. No matter what was thrown their way, lions, furnaces, these wicked, rulers, they made it through because they endured till the end. But go ahead, continue on.
Verse 6. And go not after other gods to serve them and to worship them, and provoke me not to anger with the works of your hands, and I will do you no hurt. Yet ye have not hearkened unto me, saith the Lord, that ye might provoke me to anger with the works of your hands to your own hurt. Therefore, thus saith the Lord of hosts, because ye have not heard my words, behold, I will send and take all the families of the north, saith the Lord, and Nebuchadnezzar the king of Babylon my servant, and will bring them against this land, and against the inhabitants thereof, and against all these nations round about, and will utterly destroy them, and make them in astonishment, and in hissing, in perpetual desolations.
Because you look at that, you had the Assyrians. The Assyrians were the dominant force, right? Then the Babylonians were in the mix. You had the kings of Egypt. There's archaeology that proves all this too, because all of this happened. All of this took place, because a lot of our people be like, you know what, that didn't take place. That's not in the, can it be found anywhere else other than the Bible? Yes, it can. There's vast archaeology showing you when these things occurred. The brother brought some out last week. You could go into, the Assyrian captivity. You got so many archaeological findings that show you when these things took place. In Egypt, the hieroglyphs on the walls of Egypt, showing you how when these individuals came up and besieged Israel. So now it's saying, behold, I will send and take all the families of the north. Egyptians, Assyrians were towards the north, and the Babylonians were towards the northeast. So he said, I'm going to bring all these individuals and bring them against the land, against you. So when we go back and we get, we're going to go back to Kings, we're going to see how these events, took place. But the whole point, like I'm saying, I'm not going to cover too much of the history, but enough for us to really understand, all the events. Because at the end of the day, you could sum it up, right? What are the events that take us into captivity? Transgression. But then we got to, look into the details, look into, what kings were doing, what things. We understand it right now. Who's a key player in these last days? No, I'm sorry, in regards to what we're reading in the Kings, before the Babylonian captivity. Jeremiah just broke it down. Go back to Jeremiah 25, 25 and get verse 1.
Jeremiah chapter 25 and verse 1. The word that came to Jeremiah concerning all the people of Judah in the 4th year of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah.
So it says in the 4th year of Jehoiakim. So as the king that we know that in his time, that's when the Most High said, look, this time I'm going to send them in. I'm going to send these individuals in. Israel is going to go, Judah is going to go into captivity. And all these, they're going to suffer from all, all these things that we just read about. Finish up, read up to verse 11.
Drop down?
Yeah, drop down. You left off in
7?
Nah, you want to be
Verse
on
8
that.
now.
Nah, you're at 9.
Verse 9, Behold, I will send and take all the families of the north, saith the Lord, and Nebuchadnezzar the king of Babylon my servant, and will bring them against this land, and against the inhabitants thereof, and against all these nations round about, and will utterly destroy them, and make them an astonishment, and hissing, and perpetual desolations. Moreover, I will take from them the voice of mirth, and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom, and the voice of the bride, the sound of the millstones, and the light of the candle. And this whole land shall be a desolation and an astonishment, and these nations shall serve the king of Babylon 70 years.
So right there, Jeremiah's prophesying, right? Prophecy is given before the event takes place. So imagine, with that being said, you think everybody went ahead and just continued their wicked ways? There's always a remnant. Remember, the Most High always, amongst Israel, there's always people that abide by the law. Just look at us. You look at the whole America, the U.S., look at Cali, look at just the surrounding areas where we at. You still have a remnant that's trying to get right, that's trying to, abide by these laws, that understands, look, this is vital right here. Have left families, have left many things, have given up various, different things that we were, a part of back in the day. That's why it's like necessary when you look at the New Testament, it's like, how are you going to go after you gave all this up, go and fall back into the vomit? But it's easy, right? It's real easy for you to fall back in that. Especially with everything that we have around us, the environment that we live in. But then it's also, easy if we abide by the laws and just do what the Most High says for us to go ahead and continue on our walk and endure till the end. It's just a choice. But now you guys got that. Jeremiah, he's letting us know we were going to be in Babylon for how long? 70 years, right? Read verse 12.
And it shall come to pass, when 70 years are accomplished, that I will punish the king of Babylon, and that nation, saith the Lord, for their iniquity, and the land of the Chaldeans, that will make it perpetual desolations. And I will bring upon that land all my words which I have pronounced against it, even all that is written in this book, which Jeremiah had prophesied against all the nations.
Exactly. So, when you look at Jeremiah, Isaiah, they were around, and all the other prophets for different captivities. So when you go into it, understand what was taking place. Look into, what prophets were, lived during what time, what periods, and that will help you understand the scriptures a little more, much better. So now let's go back and go back to Kings, the 21st chapter. And read verse 12.
Second Kings chapter 21 and verse 12. Therefore thus saith the Lord God of Israel, Behold, I am bringing such evil upon Jerusalem and Judah, that whosoever heareth of it, both his ears shall tingle.
Go ahead.
And I will stretch over Jerusalem the line of Samaria, and the plummet of the house of Ahab. And I will wipe Jerusalem as a man wipeth a dish, wiping it and turning it upside down. And I will forsake the remnant of mine inheritance, and deliver them into the hand of their enemies. And they shall become a prey and a spoil to all their enemies, because they have done that which was evil in my sight, and have provoked me to anger, since the day of their fathers came out forth out of Egypt, even unto this day. Moreover, Manasseh shed innocent blood very much, till he had filled Jerusalem from one end to another, beside his sin wherewith he made Judah to sin, in doing that which was evil in the sight of the Lord.
All right. So covering, seeing how evil this individual was. He made us to sin. To sum it up, it was that bad. Now let's go and, we were reading about Josiah. Josiah is the 16th king. He came in, he ruled. We understand already that he was, he walked in the ways of David. He didn't go to the left, to the right. He just kept about, about the laws of the Most High, about his father's business. Read 22 and verse 8. 2 Kings 22 and 8, yes.
And Hilkiah the high priest said unto Shaphan the scribe, I have found a book of the law in the house of the Lord. And Hilkiah gave the book to Shaphan, and he read it. And Shaphan the scribe came to the king, and brought the king word again, and said, Thy servants have gathered the money that was found in the house, and have delivered it into the hand of them that do the work, that have the oversight of the house of the Lord.
Yeah, because he commanded to go ahead and do such things, right? But as they were doing this, they came across a book. So let's see what what happened with this book. Read verse 13. So this is Josiah now. Remember, Josiah is a good king, a righteous king.
Verse 13, Go ye, inquire of the Lord for me, and for the people, and for all Judah, concerning the words of this book that is found. For great is the wrath of the Lord that is kindled against us, because our fathers have not hearkened unto the words of this book, to do according unto all that which is written concerning us.
Read verse 16.
Verse 16, Thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will bring evil upon this place, and upon the inhabitants thereof, even all the words of the book which the king of Judah have read.
So again, basically what we read in Jeremiah, right? So now he's understanding that this is about to go down. Go jump to verse 19.
Verse 19, Because thine heart was tender, and thou hast humbled thyself before the Lord. When thou heardest what I spake against this place, and against the inhabitants thereof, that they should become a desolation and a curse, and hast rent thy clothes and wept before me. I also have heard thee, saith the Lord. Behold, therefore, I will gather thee unto thy fathers, and thou shalt be gathered into thy grave in peace. And thine eyes shall not see all the evil which I will bring upon this place. And they brought the king word again.
So he came through, he said, look, Josiah, since you humbled yourself and you care for your people and care for, what message I gave you, I'm not going to let you see the evil that I'm about to bring upon the people. I'm going to let you go ahead and die in peace. It's kind of crazy when you read what happened to Josiah, but at least he didn't see the stuff that the rest of the Israelites saw. But one thing I want to pull up right quick for all those people that say, this book known as the Apocrypha doesn't relate with the Bible. Everything that we read in the Bible and you go into the Apocrypha, it pretty much connects. Literally. There's no, it says this right here, it says something different right here. When you go to the first book of Esdras, you can find Josiah. And you can see what Josiah did. Josiah was able to find the book. He found the laws again. Because remember, that's what was happening. When we going and following all these idols, imagine even when you go to church, how many of us were in church and never understood that we were Israelites, never understood that we had to keep the convocations. But the Bible was in there, right? These brothers came through. Guess what? We found this. We found the message. You know what? Let's go back. Oh, man, look, it says we got to keep the Passover. Josiah came through. They had the best Passover ever since the days of Samuel. He handled what he had to handle. Then he got caught up, and he passed away. Let me see. Go to first Esdras, just to see how he got put out. First Esdras 1 and verse 23. You can start at 21. Read from 21 down to about 29.
First Ezra chapter 1 and verse 21. Yea, all the kings of Israel held not such a Passover as Josiah's. And the priests and the Levites and the Jews held with all Jerusalem that were found dwelling at Jerusalem. In the 18th year of the reign of Josiah was the Passover kept. And the works of Josiah were upright before the Lord, or before his Lord, with an heart full of godliness. As for the things that came to pass in his time, they were written in former times concerning those that sinned and did wickedly against the Lord above all people and kingdoms, and how they grieved him exceedingly, so that the words of the Lord rose up against Israel. Now after all these acts of Josiah, it came to pass that Pharaoh the king of Egypt came to raise war Carchemish upon Euphrates, and Josiah went out against him.
So this is what the Most High had prophesied through Jeremiah. He said, remember, all the peoples from the north were going to come through and make Jerusalem desolate. So here comes Josiah. Josiah sees this individual from Egypt come along. He wasn't supposed to partake of what he's about to. Go ahead, continue reading.
But the king of Egypt sent to him, saying, What have I to do with thee, O king of Judea? I am not sent out from the Lord God against thee, for my war is upon Euphrates, and now the Lord is with me. Yea, the Lord is with me, hastening me forward. Depart from me, and be not against the Lord.
So now what you had going here was Babylon, the Assyrians, the Egyptians. They're all fighting for power, obviously. So this individual like, look, I ain't got nothing to do with you. I'm not coming to attack you. I'm coming to take these other individuals out. Just leave me alone. Go ahead, continue about your business. But what happened?
Howbeit Josiah did not turn back his chariot from him, but undertook to fight with him. Now regarding the words of the prophet Jeremiah spoken by the mouth of the Lord, but joined battle with him in the plain of Megiddo. And the princes came against King Josiah. Then said the king unto his servant, Carry me away out of the battle, for I am very weak. And immediately his servants took him away out of the battle. Then gat he up upon the second chariot, and being brought back to Jerusalem, died, and was buried in his father's sepulchre.
So when you go back to 2 Kings, you can find that, right? And I'm bringing it up because remember, the Most High said, look, since you abided by the laws and all that, I'm not going to let you see the evil that's going to come upon the land. But Josiah came through. He made, he chose to make that move. And at the end of the day, guess what? The Most High put him out. He didn't get to see that crazy stuff, but, I guess he was resting in peace. That's what the Most High meant when the prophecy was laid out. But then again, Jeremiah had already prophesied, look, let this go down. He said, this is going to go down regardless. Josiah, I guess, having that seal, he was like, man, you know what? I'm going to try to, save my people, get involved and try to do something. Like, nah. Whatever happens, the Most High said, look, these kings is going to come up. Because he said 70 years you're going to serve in Babylon. After the 70 years, he was going to make Babylon desolate. Daniel gets to see all of this, which is where we're going to go to now. Let's go back to Daniel. Let's go back to Daniel 1 and 1. Everybody good? All right. So there's a lot of events that led to this, but at the end of the day, you just sum it up with transgression, just trying to give you some of the stuff that was happening, during these days. Go ahead, get that?
Daniel chapter 1 and verse 1. In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, into Jerusalem, and besieged it. And the Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand, with part of the vessels of the house of God, which he carried into the land of Shinar, to the house of his God. And he brought the vessels into the treasure house of his God. And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and of the king's seed, and of the princes, children in whom was no blemish, but well favored, and skillful in all wisdom.
So imagine this. He's saying, bring these individuals that have no blemish and are skilled. So imagine for you to be on that of that status. Most High said the way you're going to be successful is by abiding in these laws and these statutes. So what I was, trying to tell you guys earlier, you think everybody who's doing wickedness? No, there's always a remnant, right? So these are the individuals that the king is like, you look, you know what? I want the best. All the other ones, you know what? They're rebellious, whatever. Let me get the best of the Israelites that are, that I'm bringing through into my land. So he says he wanted the ones that were blemishless, well-favored, and skillful in all wisdom, and what?
And cunning in knowledge, and understanding science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, in whom they might teach the learning in the tongue of the Chaldeans.
But let Kemetic community tell it, right? What are we? What are we? We just herders, right? Goat, sheep herders. That's not what I'm reading.
So they understood science.
Right? Imagine that. On point. Knowledge, wisdom, understanding, science, all of that stuff. So the king's like, look, you know what? I need those individuals. If I'm gonna set up Babylon and I'm gonna have it be, the kingdom that it's supposed to be, then guess what? I need the Israelites. All the time, no matter what captivity, Israel is, is required to be there for that kingdom to flourish. Egypt, who was running it? Who was out here, making the moves? If it wasn't for Joseph, there wouldn't be no Egyptian story, no story of Egypt, nothing great. that happened in Egypt. But again, Joseph is a prime example. What did he do? He feared the Most High, kept the commandments. He got set up as the second in command. Let's read. Let's see what happens with these individuals. Go ahead, continue.
In understanding science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, in whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans. And the king appointed them a daily provision of the king's meat, and of the wine which he drank, so nourishing them 3 years, that at the end thereof they might stand before the king. Now among these were of the children of Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, unto whom the prince of the eunuchs gave names. For he gave unto Daniel the name of Belshazzar, and to Hananiah of Shadrach, and to Mishael of Meshach, and to Azariah of Abednego.
First thing that they do, right? They switch us up. You look at the roots, the same thing, right? Go ahead.
But Daniel proposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat.
So imagine, we don't know what this king's meat was. It could have been chicken, it could have been lawful, right? But Daniel's like, When he speaketh fair, believe him not. These are the things that we got to look at, because we read these scriptures all the time, but when it comes down to test time, guess what? We fail. These brothers were like, nah, you know what? Nah, I'm cool. That king's portion, the meat, nah, I'm not going to partake of it. Imagine you get locked up. You go to county. They give you ostrich burgers, right? Is ostrich lawful? I don't know. Is ostrich lawful? I doubt it. Right? And then they say it's a gay bird. I don't know if that's true or whatever, but I mean, it's like, it gives you, what do you call it? Like things that create hormones, right? The stuff that they give you, the chicken. Chicken has hormones now, right? It takes that testosterone from Jake's or whatnot. So I'm saying, I just heard that. I haven't looked into it. Go ahead. Don't quote me on that. But I'm saying they give you these certain meats for certain purposes. So now it's like, nah, you know what? I ain't gonna partake of that. You know what? Let me ask these individuals, the ones that were overseeing them, for what they call pulls. So we don't gotta go all into that, but just letting you know what it says. But Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat. Get that? Continue.
Nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself.
So when you go ahead and continue reading, he went ahead and asked for pulse, right? Herbs and such, things like beans and stuff like that. So at the end of the day, before that, the individual that was appointed by the king, he was like, nah, I don't know. Because if you die, if you get sick, guess what? The king's going to take it out on me. I'm going to be put to death. He's like, nah, look, let's try it. They tried it. It says in the scriptures, go read verse 14.
Verse 14. So he consented to them in this manner, and proved them 10 days. And at the end of 10 days, their countenance appeared fairer and fatter in flesh than all the children which did eat the portions of the king's meat.
So look, they're not eating meat, but they're the healthiest, the strongest individuals there. After 10 days of just eating what Daniel requested, herbs, beans and such things, right? Lentils and all that. So the individual's like, oh, you know what? Okay, cool. I'm going to go ahead and give you this. Jump down to 17.
As for these 4 children, God gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom. And Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams.
All right. So we're not going to go into all of that, but you understand Nebuchadnezzar had a couple of dreams and so forth, right? What do you call it? Daniel was able to reveal unto him what the dream was about. And that's the prophecy of Jeremiah coming to fruition. Remember, because he told him, look, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. The king was like, oh, all right. Because everybody in his realm wasn't able to reveal the dream that he had. And he said, look, you know what? Everybody's going to get put to death. Daniel said, nah, you know what? Actually, get 14. The second chapter, verse 14.
Daniel 2 and 14.
Start at 13.
13. And the decree went forth that the wise men should be slain. And they saw Daniel and his fellows to be slain.
So the king Nebuchadnezzar's pissed off because nobody could figure out his dream. So he said, you know what? Kill all these wise individuals. All the sorcerers from Canaan and all the individuals that came through the captivity, all the sons of Judah, all the children of Judah, take them all out. And this is what Daniel reacted. Go ahead.
Then Daniel answered with counsel and with wisdom to Arioch, the captain of the king's guard, which was gone forth to slay the wise men of Babylon. And he answered and said to Arioch, the king's captain, why is this decree so hasty from the king, Then Arioch made the thing known to Daniel. Then Daniel went in and desired of the king that he would give him time, and that he would show the king the interpretation.
So in verse 18, he goes in and it says that Daniel came through and, interpreted the dream and saved everybody. So it's just showing you. But what I was bringing out is how this individual was moving. It says, then Daniel answered with counsel and wisdom. Where do we get that? How do we acquire counsel and wisdom? Proverbs 4 tells you, I give you a good doctrine. Make sure you don't forsake my law. Teach it to your children. That's showing you if we have this unlocked, guess what? We can make it through any situation, any obstacle that we might hit, right? So this is what's happening with these individuals. Now let's go and get back to chapter 3. So now this individual, Nebuchadnezzar, he ended up praising Daniel. He set him up and all that, right? Let's get that actually. Go to the second chapter and read 47.
Daniel chapter 2 and verse 47. The king answered unto Daniel and said, of a truth it is that your God is a God of gods, and a Lord of kings, and a revealer of secrets, seeing thou couldst reveal this secret. Then the king made Daniel a great man, and gave him many great gifts, and made him ruler over the whole province of Babylon, and chief of the governors over all the wise men of Babylon.
Go ahead.
Then Daniel requested of the king, and he set Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the affairs of the province of Babylon. But Daniel sat in the gate of the king. So
right there you got those three individuals set up, right? And Daniel overseeing everything. Sounds just like what I was talking about right now in the days of Joseph, right? Nothing different. Whatever Joseph did, Daniel's doing. He had that faith. Daniel's about all about the Most High. He said, look, as long as I move with the knowledge that the Most High gave me, he said, even my enemies will bow down. He understood that. We got to understand that. Now let's jump to chapter 3.
Daniel chapter 3 and verse 1. Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold, whose height was 60 cubits, and the breadth thereof 6 cubits.
We got that. Jump down to 3.
Verse 3. Then the princes, the governors and captains, the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the province were gathered together unto the dedication of the image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up.
Just how they're about to do on the 25th of December, right? Even before that, I think it's right after Thanksgiving. What do? All throughout the nation. Set up, like the brother said, set up them rods, erect them rods up, right? So-called Christmas trees, and they bow down to it. Nothing different than what you're going to see in the images that I was telling you about when you go into the archaeology of Babylon. So these individuals are setting these things up. Everybody coming down to, bow down to this image. Go ahead.
Then an herald cried aloud, to you it is commanded, O people, nations, and languages, that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king has set up.
And hold up right quick. Is that something that we're supposed to do? Because that happens here, right? Like I just said, Christmas and everything else that they set up. We don't got to go there. Actually, let's go there. Let's go to Exodus 20 and let's read 1 through 5. Just so, so we could understand, like, look, these brothers, just like them other brothers that I, read about a little while ago, they knew the law. They knew Saul had slipped and, consulted the witches. Did they bother? Nope. They continue with their wickedness. These individuals right now, when all this is going down, this is what they're recalling. Go ahead and read that.
Exodus chapter 20 and verse 1. And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not bow down, thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me.
Imagine that. Again, charity above all, right? We got to sacrifice, offer our bodies as a sacrifice, a living sacrifice. So these brothers are like, look, we in the situation that we in, because our forefathers did whatever, they're going to ask us to do right now. And that's why we still paying, because it says visiting the fourth, fifth generation of those that hate them. So that's one thing we look at right now. Like, we coming back into our heritage. We make sure that we do the best that we can. That way, the kids that we got ahead of us, they have a better chance. Fourth, fifth generation, guess what? They're set up. do the opposite, we where we at now. So this brother right here, go back to Daniel. So he's saying, look, you know what? I recall what Exodus 20 with the second commandment states. So let's see how they move. Go ahead. Verse 6.
Daniel chapter 3 and verse 6. And whoso falleth not down and worship shall the same hour be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. Therefore, at that time, when all the people heard the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and all kinds of music, all the people, the nations, and the languages fell down and worshiped the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up.
Yeah, and it's good that we're covering this right now, because one thing brothers always bring up, and it's just, you know, common sense when you look, not everybody's a Christian, right? But everybody celebrates Christmas. All throughout the world, like throughout the whole globe, everybody celebrates. Everybody, it's a trip. Some people celebrate Thanksgiving outside of the States. Makes no sense, but they do. They're keeping this in South Central America. How? Why? I don't get it. But again, we do understand, because guess what? These decrees are set forth. Everybody jumps to the bandwagon. They want to be like whoever the ruler is, the dominant society. We tag along. So it says, anybody that doesn't bow down to this image, you're going to be thrown in a fiery furnace right then and there. Continue.
Wherefore at that time certain Chaldeans came near and accused the Jews. They spake and said to the king Nebuchadnezzar, O king, live forever. Thou, O king, hast made a decree that every man that shall hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music, shall fall down and worship the golden image. And whoso falleth not down and worship, that he should be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. There are certain Jews whom thou hast set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not regarded thee. They serve not thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up.
All right. Doesn't that sound familiar? Let's go to Esther right quick. Go get Esther. Let's get 3 and 6. Same thing that they always do, right? Same thing that they're about to do in a minute out here. They're just waiting for that perfect time to go in. They'll be like, hey, you know what? Them people out there are 15 and 25. Guess what? They're not bowing down to your ways. Trump or whoever the hell the leader might be at that time. Oh, you know what? Let's go round them up. Let's take them out. When that happens, we got to recall, hey, you know what? Whatever happens is going to happen. But I'm going to have that faith that these brothers had back in the day, and I'm going to make it through. They're going to come through, you know, they're going to do the most with our people. The main thing that they use is scare tactics, right? All the time. But we're going to go into a couple of scriptures to show how these individuals dealt with the situation. So now we got to gird ourselves up to see how we going to be dealing with that situation. But let's go there and get 3 and verse 6.
Esther chapter 3 and verse 6.
Just a quick recap. Remember, this is in the days of Ahasuerus, right? Haman gets set up. He's an Amalekite, an Edomite, and he gets set up, and everybody's bowing down to him. Mordecai, he don't bow down to him. He's like, why am I going to bow down to this dirty heathen? Imagine an Amalekite. Mordecai's like, nah, man, would you bow down to an Amalekite? Because he's ruling? Nah. And he's about to take us out. Guess what? Nah, I ain't bowing down to you. You ain't the Most High. Same principle that we read about in Exodus 20. Nope. You're nothing to me. Go ahead.
And he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had shown him the people of Mordecai. Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Jews that were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, even the people of Mordecai.
All right, so on your own time, read above that and you're going to see. So Mordecai didn't bow down. So Haman was going to come through, take him out, but he's like, you know what? The people came through, were like, nah, it's not just him. He's a Jew. A lot of these individuals ain't doing what, bowing down to you. So then, what do you call it? Haman was like, you know what? I'm not only going to take this individual out, I'm going to set a decree to kill everybody, all the Jews. You guys should know the story. The decree went forth. These individuals went against it. Tables got turned. Haman was hung to death by the gallows that he set up himself. So it's showing you it's the same thing. Nothing new under the sun. When the Most High says that, we got to really understand that and believe that it's true. Nothing new under the sun. So the same thing that these individuals did at this time, they went, ratted the Jews out for not bowing down to the images or the individual that was ruling, try to put them out. Let's go back to Daniel. The same thing. These Chaldeans, which are the Babylonians, are doing the same. Like, hey, you know what? They're not bowing down. They're not following along to the decree you set up. They're not keeping Christmas, Halloween, whatever else it is, Independence Day, 4th of July, whatever. So this individual came through and was like, oh, is that right? Let's see what happened.
Verse 11. And whoso falleth not down and worshipeth, that he should be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. There are certain Jews whom thou hast set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not regarded thee. They serve not thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up.
So let's see if Nebuchadnezzar thinks back and like, you know what? It's all good. Because earlier on, I say, you know what? Their God is the God of gods, the true power. So it's cool. Don't even trip on them. Let's see if that's the approach that he takes. Go ahead.
Then Nebuchadnezzar in his rage and fury commanded to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then they brought these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar spake and said unto them, Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Do not ye serve my gods, nor worship the golden image which I have set up? Now if ye be ready that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the image which I have made. Well, but if ye worship not, ye shall be cast the same hour into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is that God that shall deliver you out of my hands?
Because the brother forgot, right? Not the brother. This Nebuchadnezzar guy forgot. The Chaldean. That quick. That's what with Jeremiah's prophecy, he said, look, he's going to rule for about 70 years. Babylon is going to be set up for 70 years. After that, I'm going to take them down. Why? Look at how they treat, how they continue to treat our people. Even after the Most High looked out and, they gave reverence, supposedly, to the Most High, completely forgot who these individuals were. So like, who's the God that's going to save you? Maybe the same God that was able to reveal the dream that you had that nobody else in your nation could? Nope. Forgot about that. Go ahead.
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this manner.
You hear that? They didn't hold back. They're like, look, we're going to tell you straight how it is. They went out there shook. What do we do now? Look, we're going to straight up. We're not afraid. We're going to be bold with it. Go ahead.
If it be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace. And he will deliver us out of thine hand, O king.
So they basically said, look, if it's the will of the Most High, he's going to deliver us. Plain and simple. Continue.
But if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. Then was Nebuchadnezzar full of fury, and the form of his visage was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Therefore he spake, and commanded that they should heat the furnace 7 times more than it was wont to be heated.
Imagine that. So he said, look, you know what? We're going to heat it up 7 times more than usual. The hell with these guys. Who do they think they are? Set up this furnace, and you know what? Let's go get some mighty men to put them up in there. Go ahead, continue.
And he commanded the most mighty men that were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and to cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Then these men were bound in their coats, their hosen, and their hats, and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent, and the furnace exceeding hot, the flame of the fire slew those men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
So we read this story, right? So now I was asking you if you have read the Song of the Three Holy Children, because sometimes you might be like, Three Holy Children. I wonder what that's got to do with Daniel, because I brought that up earlier. Well then, like I stated before, it's the Song of the Holy Children, or also known as the Prayer of Azariah. Remember, that was one of the names that was given to the brothers. So now let's go and get into the story, the Song of the Three Holy Children, and let's see how it relates to Daniel. I stated prior to this, right, that all these books that we have in the Apocrypha, obviously, it's even funny to even mention that so often, but it belongs right here. It's up in here. That's all it is, right? It's nothing out of the Most High's word. Although that, some people try to say that. Say, why you believe in the Apocrypha but not the pseudepigrapha books? Go ahead and study that. Pseudo, false. This ain't false. This relates and it straight connects with the Bible. But go ahead and get that out.
The song of the three holy children, verse 1. And it walked in the midst of the fire, praising God and blessing the Lord. Then Azariah stood up and prayed on this matter, and opening his mouth in the midst of the fire said, Blessed art thou, O Lord, God of our fathers. Thy name is worthy to be praised and glorified forevermore. For thou art righteous in all the things that thou hast done to us. Yea, true are all thy works, thy ways are right, and all thy judgments true.
All right, let's hold up. So, listen, these cats went in there. They were walking around that mud, happy, understanding, take this with gladness, right? Take what? When correction comes, when you're going through trials and tribulations, the Most High states in the New Testament, throughout the whole Bible, take it with gladness. These brothers understood that. Imagine you get tossed in the furnace. These brothers is happy, running around like, hey, it is what it is. Either you going to save us? Cool. If not, guess what? Whatever you do is just. And we're going to see what they explain. They're going to sum it up. They're going to sum up everything that we cover right now with this one little book, one chapter. Go ahead, continue.
And all the things that thou hast brought upon us and upon the holy city of our fathers, even Jerusalem, thou hast executed true judgment. For according to truth and judgment didst thou bring all these things upon us because of our sins. For we have sinned and committed iniquity departing from thee. In all things have we trespassed and not obeyed thy commandments, nor kept them, neither done as thou hast commanded us, that it might go well with us. Wherefore all that thou hast brought upon us, and everything that thou hast done to us, thou hast done in true judgment.
You hear any complaining from these brothers? They're like, look, we fully accept what we partaking of. Because guess what? Our forefathers sinned. They understood that. They understood Ezekiel 18. They're like, but we're not going to partake of that. Most High willing, you have mercy. And guess what? Reverse the curse. Continue.
And thou didst deliver us into the hands of the lawless enemies, most hateful forsakers of God, and to an unjust king, and the most wicked in all the world. And now we cannot open our mouths. We'll become ashamed and a reproach to thy servants, and to them that worship thee. Yet deliver us not up wholly for thy name's sake, neither disannul thou thy covenant, and cause not thy mercy to depart from us. For thy beloved Abraham's sake, for thy servant Isaac's sake, and for thy holy Israel's sake, to whom thou hast spoken and promised that thou wouldst multiply their seed as the stars of heaven, and as the sand that lieth upon the seashore. For we, O Lord, are become less than any nation, and be kept under this day in all the world because of our sins.
Imagine, they're breaking down history back to back. The Most High said we were going to be multiplied, right? Like the sands of the sea, like the stars. He said, at this point, man, our numbers are slim. Why? Due to the transgression. So he said, please don't forsake what the promise that you made to our forefather Abram. The fact that Isaac and Jacob were on point, were about your law, were obedient. Continue on.
Neither is there at this time prince or prophet or leader or burnt offering or sacrifice or oblation or incense or place to sacrifice before thee and to find mercy. Nevertheless, in a contrite heart and humble spirit, let us be accepted.
Imagine that. That sounds like, remember what David said in Psalms 51? Check it out when you get a chance. Psalms 51 and 16. He said the same thing. He said, Father, I know you don't require sacrifice or burnt offerings, but a contrite heart. These individuals like, we know what you about, Abba. Right now, Jerusalem's got done away. It got done away with. There's no temple. You instructed Solomon to build that temple. Guess what? It's gone due to our transgression. Same time, look, we have that contrite heart. Please consider it. Go ahead.
Like as in the burnt offerings of rams and bullocks, and like as in 10,000s of fat lambs, so let our sacrifice be in thy sight this day, and grant that we may wholly go after thee. For they shall not be confounded that put their trust in thee.
So what is their sacrifice? So it says, let our sacrifice be in thy sight this day. What sacrifice are they talking about? Themselves. Themselves. They're like, look, we didn't bow down. So please let this sacrifice count for something. Look, we ain't bowing down to this stuff. To these ways, the kings, the ways of the king, the ways of the heathens. We ain't bowing down to no idol, none of that. So please consider this. They're like, look, so let our sacrifice be in thy sight this day. Let's pause on that right quick. Go to 1 Maccabees 2. And actually not continue. We'll come back to that in a minute. Verse 18. Salaki.
Verse 18. And now we follow thee with all our heart, and we fear thee and seek thy face. Put us not to shame, but deal with us after thy loving kindness, and according to the multitude of thy mercies. Deliver us also to thy marvelous works, and give glory to thy name, O Lord. And let all them that do thy servants hurt be ashamed. And let them be confounded in all their power and might, and let their strength be broken. And let them know that thou art Lord, the only God, and glorious over the whole world. And the king's servant that put them in ceased not to make the oven hot with rows and pitch, tow, and small wood, so that the flame streamed forth above the furnace 49 cubits, and it passed through and burned those Chaldeans. It found about the furnace.
So this is what we just read back in Daniel, right? Let's go back to Daniel 3 and read verse 22 again. So now, did the Most High listen to them? See that faith that they had? They were faithful. They're like, look, it don't matter. They said they made it 7 times worse than, what it usually is. Brothers are right here like, nah. You tell that to a regular individual, even maybe some of us, like, nah, I'd rather just submit. I'm not going to go through that. These brothers were like, look, it is what it is. We have so much faith in you, Abba, that at the end of the day, you know what? We understand that you're going to, look out for us, which the Most High did. So let's go back to verse 23. 22.
Verse 22. Therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent and the furnace exceeding hot, the flame of the fire slew those men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down, bound in the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished, and rose up in haste, and spake, and said unto his counselors, Did not we cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire?
Check this out. Go ahead.
They answered and said unto the king, True, O king. He answered and said, Lo, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt. And the form of the 4th is like the Son of God.
Like what?
The Son of God.
Who has been there? Who saved them? Savior, the same one. He who saves, Yahweh Shai. So see, you're like, oh, you know what? Christ is a make-believe character that they created in the New Testament. The Council of Nicaea. All this crap. Nah. Christ has been laid out since the beginning. Colossians tells you. Philippians tells you. Right? In Genesis it tells you. In John 1:1 it tells you. So these brothers were like, nah, you know what? We trust in the Savior. We trust in the Most High. And now, Nebuchadnezzar is right here like, hold up. And the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. Continue.
Then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the mouth of the burning fiery furnace, and spake, and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, ye servants of the Most High God, come forth, and come hither. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came forth for the midst of the fire. And the princes, governors, and captives, and the king's counselors being gathered together saw these men, upon whose bodies the fire had no power, nor was an hair of their head singed, neither was their coats changed, nor the smell of fire had passed on them.
Nor the what?
Smell of fire had passed on them.
Imagine that. It's like they weren't even there. Brothers, you be around a fire, you be around smokers, you end up stinking like that. These brothers didn't even have the scent of smoke, of fire on them. Showing you when you trust in the Most High, he's like, man, I got you. Don't even trip. That's why I was giving you an example. Guess what? They trusted in the Most High. They got saved by the Most High through Christ, right? And then when you read in the New Testament, in the last book, he says, look, at the end of the day, you're gonna be judged by thy works. If you committed transgression throughout your whole life, your sin outweighs the good deeds, the righteousness. You're going to be tossed in eternal damnation and that eternal flame. Imagine. That's what these brothers understood. They're like, nah, we're not going to do that. We're not going to take that. We're not going to go that route. So you could continue on with Daniel 3 on your own time. But let's go back to the song of the 3 little children. Continue on where you left off.
Verse 19. Put us not to shame, but deal with us after thy loving kindness, and according to the multitude of thy mercies. Deliver us also according to thy marvelous works, and give glory to thy name, O Lord. And let all them that do thy servants hurt be ashamed, and let them be confounded in all their power and might, and let their strength be broken. And let them know that thou art Lord, the only God, and glorious over the whole world. And the king's servants that put them in cease not to make the oven hot with rows and pitch, tow, and small wood. so that the flames streamed forth above the furnace 49 cubits, and it passed through and burned those Chaldeans it found about the furnace. But the angel of the Lord came down into the oven together with Azarias and his fellows, and smote the flame of the fire out of the oven, and made the midst of the furnace as it had been a moist whistling wind, so that the fire touched them not at all, neither hurt nor troubled them. Then the three.
Hold up right there. As you know, sometimes the brothers talk about that. He's like, yeah, Esau thinks he got all this weaponry unlocked, right? Let the Most High just switch to elements. What do you have then? That's exactly what he did right here. He said, man, he was burning up the furnace 7 times harder than what it usually was, right? And then all it took was for the angel of the Most High to come up in the furnace and blow that flame out. So these individuals were safe. The individuals that were outside of the furnace, right, got lit up, got put out. Just showing you how the Most High could operate and, man, switch things up real quick. Continue on.
Then the three, as out of one mouth, praised, glorified, and blessed God in the furnace, saying,
All in one accord. Go ahead.
Blessed art thou, O Lord God of our fathers, and to be praised and exalted above all forever. And blessed is thy glorious and holy name, and to be praised and exalted above all forever.
So you continue on. He goes in and they give thanks to, they pretty much put everything out there. Everything that the Most High created, all the way down to talking about, the forefathers. They recall all of them. Let's get verse 60. We will read from verse 60 down to 68.
Verse 60. O ye children of men, bless ye the Lord, praise and exalt him above all forever. O Israel, bless ye the Lord, praise and exalt him above all forever. O ye priests of the Lord, bless ye the Lord, praise and exalt him above all forever. O ye servants of the Lord, bless ye the Lord, praise and exalt him above all forever. O ye spirits and souls of the righteous, bless ye the Lord, praise and exalt him above all forever. O ye holy and humble men of heart, bless ye the Lord, praise and exalt him above all forever. O Ananias, Azarias, and Mishael, bless ye the Lord, praise and exalt him above all forever. For he have delivered us from hell, and saved us from the hand of death, and delivered us out of the midst of the furnace and burning flame. Even out of the midst of the fire have he delivered us. O give thanks unto the Lord, because he is gracious, for his mercy endureth forever. O all ye that worship the Lord, bless the God of gods, praise him, and give him thanks, for his mercy endureth forever.
Con. So you see these brothers all throughout, and then I only have a couple more precepts to go into. A lot of reading tonight, huh? But it's just showing you, how these individuals, I was talking to the family earlier this week, because like the scripture talks about coveting, right? We think covet. The commandment says, thou shalt not covet, right? It says, thou shalt not covet anything that is thy neighbor's. But then another precept says the opposite. It says covet what? Actually covet the good gifts, right? The good things that brethren have. Like you got, brothers that are charitable. You got to look at that and be like, yeah, you know what? I want to be just like them individuals. I want to make sure that I'm charitable. Individual, whatever his problem, hey, man, he's always in the books, absorbing this knowledge. It says covet those things, because those things are going to help you build. Help yourself build, build yourself and build the nation. So that's what these individuals, when you're looking at everything, they're like, man, constantly recalling like everything that the forefathers did. The righteous individuals, because he said right here, O ye spirits and souls of the righteous, bless ye the Lord. They understood that everybody that was on, on wicked terms, the Most High is not listening. Proverbs tells you that. The prayer of the wicked, the prayer of the sinful individual is not heard by the Most High. So just a couple other precepts. Let's go to 1 Maccabees 2, 50 and 61. If you guys could also take down 2 Maccabees 7. That's the story of the sister and her 7 children. The same thing. The sister was like, you know what? I'll take, and that happened during, during these days, the days of the Maccabees, which we're, recalling, we're keeping a memorial for in these, this present week. So this sister, she said, look, at the end of the day, I'm not going to bow down. You guys know the story, all 7 kids got put to death. They were laughing at the king. They're like, man, take us out already. All this yapping that you're doing, guess what? We're ready. You're going to be sitting on the right side, out there with Yahweh Shai. You're going to be judged at the end of the day. You are going to have it worse than what you think you're doing to us right now. King tripping out, he still took him out. The mom was out here speaking in the Hebrew language. Like, go ahead, do what you got to do. You ain't phasing me. All of them got put to death. Torture. Got laid out, got put out. At the end of the day, the Most High is what we read in Revelation 6. They right there anxious, like, Father, how long is it going to take for us to come through and see the vengeance? They said, chill. Here are these white robes. Dwell out for a minute. Because there's some more of these individuals, your offspring, your nation, that got to go through the same thing that you went through. We still here. So I say we got to prepare ourselves so when this comes around, Most High willing, we have the strength to be able to make it through. We'll go to 2 Maccabees, and 1 Maccabees 2:50 through 61.
1 Maccabees chapter 2 and verse 50. Now therefore, my sons, be ye zealous for the law, and give your lives for the covenant of your fathers.
This is Mattathias before he passes on, before he dies. He's talking to his five sons, right? And he's letting them know, look, before I pass, remember these things. These are the individuals that we're commemorating today, last night, this whole week. Individuals that went against the Grecians and were able to defeat them and rededicate the temple to the Most High. Go ahead.
Call to remembrance which acts your fathers did in their time. So shall ye receive great honor and an everlasting name. Was not Abraham found faithful in temptation? Was not Abraham found faithful in temptation? And it was imputed unto him for righteousness. Joseph in the time of his distress kept the commandment and was made Lord of Egypt. Phinehas, our father, in being zealous and fervent, obtained the covenant of an everlasting priesthood. Jesus, for fulfilling the word, was made a judge in Israel.
That's Joshua. Go ahead.
Caleb, for bearing witness before the congregation, received the heritage of the land. David, for being merciful, possessed the throne of an everlasting kingdom. Elias, for being zealous and fervent for the law, was taken up into heaven. Ananias, Azarias, and Mishael, by believing, were saved out of the flame. Daniel, for his innocency, was delivered from the mouth of the lions. And thus consider ye throughout all ages that none that put their trust in him shall be overcome.
That's what we got to remember. So he just, pulled out a roll call right quick. He named a couple of individuals. Same thing that these brothers did. They're like, look, no matter what, you don't recall? Abraham, Isaac, Jacob? We do. Most High spared them. Most High kept them. His brother Mattathias now is in the days of the Grecians. Remember, these are the Babylonian captivity. We're way out here in the days of the Grecians. And then in the days of the Romans, the same things that were, Christ was saying. Christ said the same things that these brothers were saying back in the day. So it's showing you nothing new under the sun. The Most High is always, showing us the way that we got to operate. Last scripture, we're going to finish off with 1 Maccabees 9 and 10. Before there, actually, let me get 1 Maccabees 2 and 68. Then we're going to get 1 Maccabees 9 and 10.
1 Maccabees chapter 2 and verse 68. Recompense fully the heathen, and take heed to the commandments of the law.
You hear what he said? The time of war. So he told his brothers, he told his sons, look, defend the nation, defend the law, and recompense fully the heathen. Take heed to these commandments, right, to this law. So this is what we got to understand, because we're preparing for these days. We got to prepare ourselves, got to prepare the little ones, the ones that are going to come, after us, after them. So when that day, when it pops off, guess what? These individuals know that, look, at the end of the day, we're sparing, no feelings, and none of that's going to be attached. We got to understand, look, we're doing it for the Most High. We're taking people out. It's crazy. I think it's Zechariah. I might be wrong with Lamentations. It even talks about what Christ was talking about. Your own enemies will be within your own household. He says, I come to set, variance, meaning friction, meaning separation within your own household. And then in that scripture it says, there's going to be mothers bashing the kids, taking them out, and vice versa. Why? Because at the end of the day, look, either you with the Most High in his business or you're an enemy. Luke 19 and 27, Christ himself said that. He said, those those individuals that don't want me to reign, bring hither. He told his, look, these servants that are here, go get them and slay them before me. So a lot of people are like, that's a soft book, you know. No, it's not. All I read about is revolution in this book. All I read about is taking ours back. Daniel himself, I think, is what? One of the last chapters, it says the saints will take the kingdom. So nothing's going to be given to us. This is what the brother right here, Mattathias, is saying. Look, recompense fully the heathens and take heed to the commandments of the law. So these are things that we really got to, you know, absorb and let them resonate in our spirit. So whenever it goes down, guess what? We're ready. We just read about Moses not too long ago. Remember what Moses did? Brothers were being, you know, beat by the Egyptians. Moses came through, put them to death. Brother was just talking about that this weekend. True love. I say, put them out, hit them, bounce. Because our own brethren was going to be out there ratting them out. It's like, damn, I looked out for my brothers. Now I got to deal with my brethren, my own brethren putting me out and exposing me. Christ said the same thing. Look, it's going to be your own people that are going to expose you. Brother Ayakar was going into it last night. You're not able to sustain and you know, be able to put your loyalty for the Most High. Now, imagine when the ish hits the fan. Be the first ones ratting our people out. Oh, yeah, you know that my dad, he over there. Yeah, my uncle, he's in the truth. He's out there. Here's the address. Brothers out there, oh, yeah, here's their phone number. Here's their home address. Go get them. It's a family of 6. Make sure you get all of them. Just spare me. So we got to look like, nah, dude, we want to be that Judas. We want to be this Judas right here. Mattathias, right? The Maccabees. Not, what's his other, Iscariot? That's his last name, right? Not that individual. He's a sellout. All right? So let's get this last scripture. 1 Maccabees 9 and verse 10.
The book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 9 and verse 10. Then Judas said, God forbid that I should do this thing and flee away from them. If our time be come, let us die manfully for our brethren, and let us not stain our honor.
You remember what his pops told him. Say, go out like a man. You hear this in songs nowadays, right? Tupac, what did he say? I remember them lyrics. Right? Zapata said the same thing. Showing you who we are. Showing you that these things have been in our mind. Like, look, death before dishonor. So we got to recall these things. That's the whole reason why even, you know, that book was laid out. The whole Bible is just letting us know, look, remember, I made a promise. I made a covenant with your forefather Abram. Why? Because he was obedient. He was tested. Isaac got put right there. Look, go ahead and sacrifice Isaac out there. Where's the lamb, Dad? Don't worry, the Most High will provide. Just showing you what that answer is kind of like what Daniel did. His response was with wisdom and understanding. Abraham was like, you know, don't trip. Knowing that the Most High said, look, go sacrifice your son. I'm going to require for you to put your son out. Abraham was moving like, you know what? It is good. I'm all good. You know, the Most High is going to provide. Boom. As soon as he was going to, you know, he put Isaac down on the rock, angel came through. Nah, stop that. Guess what? Boom. You made it. You passed the test. A lot of people out there like, what kind of God is that? The brother went into it last week, even right now when we read in Manasseh. He says, you will be turned into dung. He said that about Jeroboam, right? The dogs were going to eat you up and ish you out. That's the type of power we dealing with. He's no joke. Either we on his good side or on his bad side. There's no in between. So, is there any questions? We good? All right, then, so with that, we're going to close it out. Let's rise again and face the chosen city of the Most High, Jerusalem.